Okay, so let's jump in.
Mhm.
Not rich, married, or Insta famous at 30. Are you behind or just a human?
Not rich, married, or Insta famous at 30. How I interpret that question is you're asking what is society's expectation of people above 30. So I'm assuming the expectation is when you're 30, you need to either be rich or on the way to being rich, married, or you should have followers on Instagram. Now, unfortunately, my friends here, you are neither of all. You are not rich, you are not Insta famous, and you are still very, very unmarried. So, by society's definition, you are less privileged. um, and I agree with society because I think you're supposed to contribute something. So now we'll start with the Instagram perspective. Look, take what I say
Hmm.
with a grain of salt. There's some
Mm-hmm.
seriousness and there's some joking there. So if you are not twerking and entertaining us on Instagram or giving us things we can consume on Twitter, then there's no value. Now,
Then what are you
marriage,
doing?
I don't see the value in marriage now. It no favor me in the sense that if you marry or you don't marry, there's no real advantage to society per se. The advantage will come when you start to have children because you are regenerating and you are putting back something into the world. That's now rich is subjective, right? If you carry the 100K or 150K you're earning in Australia and go back to Nigeria, you're considered rich. But in Australia, you're almost less than less than average. You're on the borderline of less privilege, even with 140K. You cannot buy a house. So there's there's many directions I can take this conversation.
Oh
However,
my
I will
God.
start with man versus woman, right? Because these things that we're talking about, I think it's more from a man's perspective because society's expectation of a woman at 30 is simple. If you're a woman at 30, just be a mother. That's all. Problem solved. That's the end. For a
Hmm.
man, when your age starts with three, you need to be rich. Provide. You need to be a father. You need to be a husband. There's many other things that you need to be. And then most people can truly put you in a box whether you've made it or you're a failure. So if you pass 35 and there's nothing to show for it, then you are considered almost a failure.
Adam has said it though. Well, at the end of the day, man, at 30, you should have a direction. What are you doing? You cannot just be 30 and be moving like 20. At 30, you should be talking something. Somebody should know you for something. Even if you are married, you are not, anybody can decide to marry. But are you, what value are you bringing to marriage? Like, someone is not going to respect you at 30 because you are married. Someone is going to respect you because, number one, you have money as a guy, you have connection, you have influence, and then you have sense, you are smart. But because you are married at 30, you expect anybody to respect you. No. If you are married and you are poor, you are single. So what this means to me is just personal choices. What do you want? What gives you happiness? And personally, I used to not allow what the society think of me to be a thing, but nowadays I think you really have to look, listen, and ask question of who do you really think I am? What do I mean to you? The other time Adam was calling all of us and was asking us what we think of him, just because he wants that feedback. I think it's important
Hmm.
for us to be able to care about what society thinks of us. And then those feedback will make you to kind of rearrange your life and maybe assess, probably change, or maybe do what you were doing. Honest feedbacks. And Instagram famous. I mean, if you're not making money off social media, the pressure is just crazy. I really don't see because that's why I really would not maybe be on TikTok because I can't deal with these Gen Zs. What they do on TikTok is I can't do it. I can never really be famous on TikTok. Instagram these days, a lot of people are just doing crazy things because they want to be famous. I don't think it's a thing for me. Being famous like that, on social media. It depends on how famous you want to become, but it's not really my thing. But my thing would be being successful at 30 and getting married at 30 as a guy. That's success. But
Do you or did you feel any pressure at any point in time that you had to follow this a certain path or be
no,
somewhere at a certain age?
no. I kind of knew what I wanted. I knew I'm gonna have to do this at this age, do this at this age, do this at this stage, do this at this stage, and yeah, because I mean, I know, people that I had people that I look up to, and I knew what they were doing at certain, stages of their life, and that works for them. So a roadmap, right? So I mean, wanted to write WAEC when my mates are writing WAEC, wanted to get into university when my mates are in university, wanted to graduate uni when my mates are graduated uni, go for masters when my mates are gone. Just do something.
How does Instagram impact people's lives? For example, Adam
Mm.
gave an example. He said he knows someone who deleted Instagram because the person kept on seeing his mates on Instagram who were already with kids, families, and all that. And then the person felt it makes that person feel a little bit bad, and that person ends up deleting Instagram, right? So that's it. That's some kind of pressure that comes from using social media. LinkedIn could be a good example. You're seeing kids already having very good jobs, and you're still hustling, you're still struggling to get a job. But people younger than you have already accomplished so much, right? And then it messes with your head. That's another kind of pressure that could come just from social media again. Then if you now take it to family, right? In the family, another kind of pressure could be that your younger brother is more successful than you. So those are the kind. That's the, not like childbirth, getting married is it's a very it's we're going into like a one-way traffic, right?
No, no, no. There's pressure on ladies when they're at a certain age and they're not in relationships and they're not married. That pressure, it's more than even the pressure that you are talking about. Someone getting a job on LinkedIn and you are not. Someone buying a car or someone looking fly on social media and they are not. If a woman is, if you sit down with a mature woman and then the person tells you how much he he has succeeded in, it's still gonna boil down to people don't really respect me like that because I'm not in no relationship or I've not got married. It's crazy, but this is an authentic pressure that is going on right there. As a woman, there is how you are super successful, and then they don't give you a particular kind of job in your maybe there is a particular kind of job you've been looking for in your community and stuff like that. It's crazy, but it's happening. Even in America, people that plays American football, right? A lot of people that they've given quarterbacks are people that they seem to feel like they are stable. They are married, they are stable. They give them quarterbacks, and this is football. This is even football, though. We are not even talking about like corporate organizations and all of that.
I can tell you that most corporate organizations rather have unmarried women because they don't have to take 6 months leave, get pregnant, and do all these other things. So,
Topics like this, right? Which is why I like to frame things in my head. When you present something to me, I look at it from different perspective, right? Male versus female, religious versus, societal, and then African traditional versus modern, right? Or Western. So the biggest spectrum of that is male versus female because somehow there's always a lot of friction in today's world when it's a man's view versus a woman's view. Sharon just clearly said it's unwise to speak for women when you don't have a vagina, which is it's a brilliant that's parable. Like Sharon should just start writing her own Bible there. Anywho, the reason why you see that people who have kids and who are married, that's all they talk about, is because that becomes your world. Before I go in deeper in that, I'll give you an example. When you're talking to someone who has never left their country before, you will notice that
mm,
their view is very myopic. All they know
hmm
is that their current environment. But when you've traveled, you see things differently. You've interacted with different people. Sometimes if you spend time with somebody that cannot speak English, you will see that your interaction is through signs and gestures and all those things. You're not using words. It
Mm,
opens your mind up. So coming
mm,
back to married versus unmarried, or with having children versus not having
mm,
children, the moment you have children, you start to see things from the sixth dimension. And then people who don't have kids are still in 2D,
mm,
or maybe if they are wise, 3D. So things
mm,
just life is very it changes. And then because when you have kids, that's all you think about. You spend 90% of your time thinking about your
mm,
children. You now when you see somebody, all you want to talk about is children. You will notice now all your friends who have kids, when they see you, Emmanuel, when are you marrying? Ah, you're old, you need to start having children because that's all they know. So
mm.
unfortunately, that's the situation.
I I don't think that's the situation. Like, how can you just say that, and then that's because somebody has kids and just one way of thinking?
Why
Even in
do
a
people
topic like
always ask?
this,
See, society,
like
like
in
now
a
we're
topic
talking about.
like this, in a topic like this, in a topic like this, I genuinely think that if you're saying that, oh, because Chris has kids, then that's why his mind is going there. I kind of feel like you're saying that he does that, like there's no depth to his thinking. Like, he's just thinking one way, the same way
You,
as that.
you and
Because if
Sharon
you
just the attack praise, like
no, because if you think about
directly
it,
and
like,
indirectly.
no, it's not indirectly. Again, it's not about attacking. It's like it's a topic with like
In,
three
in it,
different aspects.
Hence
Adam,
why,
One,
hence
social
why.
media,
At the end
and
of
that's
the
why I
day,
was giving those
at the
examples,
end of
right? I was giving those
wait,
examples
Ini.
not because I asked the question of, did you feel pressured to do do certain things in your life? So I remember there was a day I called you Adam and I said, have you noticed that everybody is doing everything at the same time? Like, for example, if you go to school, you finish school, you get married. Like, it's the same pattern, and everybody does it and says, "Do it." Does that make sense? So
All
now
right.
let's, like, how
Can
Chris
I
gave the
ask a
example.
question?
Yeah.
You see, we're social creatures, and
Mm,
fortunately and unfortunately, we will always bend to the will of society. If you look at Instagram or social
mm,
media and you use that as a case study, you will
mm.
notice that there are some people, they don't post on Instagram, but they post maybe 3 times a year. They do that Christmas post, that mandatory Christmas post, where them and their family will stay in front of Christmas tree and snap. They will post on Valentine's Day, and then when their wife is pregnant, they will go and stand behind her and hold the belly and
And
do
lead down,
baby
no, lead
shoot.
down, kiss the belly.
Kidney down. So we are social creatures, and you
Chris
can
is
see
laughing,
that
did it.
most of those people, they don't. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that you will bend to society's will. Now, people who are strong-willed, they will create their own reality, right? So, but the
Mm-hmm.
problem with creating your own reality is they will see you as you're crazy. Kanye West now is trying to create his reality. Everybody said he's crazy. But not to get off topic with Kanye West, you would have a better example or better experience of going against society because you are still unmarried, and
Mm-hmm.
your age starts with 3. So how does
Mm-hmm.
that make you feel when every time people see you, they're asking, when are you going to marry, or why are you still single?
I honestly think they just say these things because it's, when something gets embedded in your brain, and it's like muscle it's like you're saying it without control. I think that's how people just say these things. Once people get married, they want, it's like, oh, everybody around me should get married. I think that's what happens. It's like, oh, I'm doing crypto. Everybody around me should do crypto. And I keep telling people to do it. So if you look at human beings, 90 most of the time, if you reach out to someone and say, hey, give me some advice, you find out that the person is not actually objectively giving you an advice that would benefit you. The person is trying to convince you to do to think like them. So if you have a problem and you're talking to someone, most times that person is trying to convince you to do what they want you to do. They're not really telling you something that they're not thinking from, oh, hold on, what's the best option for this person? So a good example could be somebody saying, "Oh, when are you going to get married? When are you going to get married?" Do you know what my bank account looks like? It's like buy a house. Do you know what the person's bank account looks like? Which are saying you should buy a house, and then you're mounting that pressure. Why? And then the person who maybe owns the house, or maybe, and then it could also be that. So for someone who could even be in a very, very troublesome, very bad marriage, right? Would still advise you to get married. So let's go with statistics, right? Because I like, and again, not to sound like a pessimist, it's not about being pessimistic. Two things before I go further. I value marriage, one. Two, when the right time comes, these things will happen. However, I want to go to the other side and say, okay, hold on. If we use Australia as an example, Australia has a 50% divorce rate, right? I don't know if it's gone up or down. If you were to jump from a plane and they told you that there's a 50% chance you die from jumping, would you jump?
No, but marriage will not kill you.
Hold on. Let me finish. I'm not done yet. I'm not done. Then, if I was the one telling you to jump from the plane, how would you look at me? Good.
No, I'm
So
holding on. I
I'm
have
trying
answers. I'm
to
just
so
holding. I
no
want you
so
to
now
finish.
I'm trying to emphasize on how important marriage is. And I don't think it's something people should throw around telling people to get married. Oh, when I go to get married, like it's some easy thing to just do. No, it's not easy. It's not. And I genuinely think we shouldn't be in the habit of saying, oh, when I go to get married, blah, 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 blah. People like me, I just ignore it because, I mean, but I know, I've spoken to Praise. If I said Praise, I was on, I was listening to the radio and I heard this woman call and she was like, she's feeling so much pressure. She has to take a fake boyfriend to her parents. So now that kind of pressure now is leading people to do things that they wouldn't would normally do.
Do you guys have any like closing remarks?
Just know when to change gears. That's why we have gears that needs to be changed. You cannot be on gear one till the end of your destination. You need to know how to change gears. Changing of gear in this conversation is you should know when to be yourself and when to live in society conformation or expectation or whatever. Just know when to change gears. That's it.
To simplify it is basically society's pressure that starts to mount once your age starts with the number 3. And unfortunately, we are a community and you have to conform to society. Otherwise, you'll be deprived of what society, benefits of society. So as much as we advocate for people to be their authentic selves, you can't be your authentic self if you don't excel in something. Now, the reason why we don't care if Elon Musk wears slippers and shorts or whatever to anywhere is because he has excelled in one aspect of his life. He's built something that he's known for. So he can come out in any, he can even lack in many other aspects of his life and we'll make excuses for him. So my recommendation to people out there is try and excel in something. Even if it's video game, be great at it. If it's workout, be great at it. If you are funny, be great at it. Just excel at one thing. And you see that when you excel in one thing, somehow the confidence from that one thing will start to cascade into other aspects of your life. For me, the benchmark for my confidence was when I started to look at myself in the mirror and I looked good. And then that confidence started to flow into other aspects of my life. It even flowed into corporate life. If I walk into a boardroom now, people look at me and want to hear what I have to say because of how I present myself. So I don't even have to sound too smart. I just have to come correct.